Good morning and welcome to Coffee and Conversation. We are joined today by Shelley Carthen Watson, President and CEO of YWCA Minneapolis, here to talk about, just to give some updates on what's new. Shelley, there's been a lot of change and transition. It's been a busy time at YWCA. Can you sort of walk us through what's new, what's going on, and where we are?
Certainly. Good morning to you too, Tia, and everyone else. As you know, a few months ago, we announced our new strategic vision, where we are going to, a big chunk of which is to consolidate our fitness operations from downtown and our uptown locations into our midtown locations, and to lean in on our work in early childhood, girls and youth, and racial justice and public policy, as well as turn our midtown facility into a community hub. So in furtherance of that, we have now shut down our fitness operations in just the downtown and uptown facilities. Uptown only houses fitness and none of our other programs. And so it will be sold. It is on the market. And our downtown building will be sold as well. We currently have an early childhood education center there, as well as our administrative offices. And so we will remain there with our kiddos until the building is sold. If in fact there is a buyer that is willing to let us keep our early childhood education program there downtown, we will stay there. If not, we have identified other locations, both downtown and downtown adjacent, that we will move our child care center to. So right now, we have placed the buildings on the market, and we've had a gratifying amount of interest from the community. And we put out a call to offers about 2 weeks ago. And anyone who's interested needs to turn in an offer by the end of the month. And then we will sift through them and figure out what is the best fit for our organization. But in the meantime, we're moving forward with the shutdown of those buildings, of the Uptown building, and increasing our programming at Midtown. It's pretty exciting to see.
You talked about the consolidation of fitness at Midtown and increasing the programming at Midtown and kind of turning it into a hub. Can you say more about that?
Sure. We had an open house at Midtown about 2 weeks ago, and it was a lot of fun. A lot of people don't realize that that's our largest facility and the one that has the most traffic, as we call it. So it has a pool. It also has a splash pad for the kiddos. It houses an early childhood center, as well as all of our girls and youth programs. We have a gym as well, which offers pickleball, as well as the Minneapolis Sports Center, where we run basketball leagues, futsal leagues, indoor track meets, you name it in there. And that's where it's at 2 levels. So our Silver Sneakers folks are pretty proprietary about the upstairs walking track. But it has, it's always had a really robust senior community, which is wonderful. And what we've done is we've taken all of our fitness offerings, looked at what were the most popular classes or well-attended classes, both downtown and uptown, and added more classes, probably added more fitness classes by about 1/3, moved a lot more equipment into the fitness floor that's there. With our lifeguards moving to Midtown, we've been able to increase the number of moving to Midtown, increase the number of swimming lessons that we can offer to children in the community. And one little wonderful secret people don't know is that every child in our early childhood program, the entire family gets a fitness membership, and the kids get swimming lessons. And the participants in our Eureka and some of our other girls and youth programs also get free gym memberships. So it is going to be a bustling hub. And we're working on getting feedback from the community as to just what a community hub would look like. We want to make sure that we have community input to identify the needs of that particular community, and to see what we can do. We've talked to some of the larger health insurers about how they can show up there. We talked to our folks from Uptown that had a really robust senior community and some other organizations about what a really great senior program would be. We've also increased, we have specialized fitness classes just for seniors. And we'd like to have more of those, do more educational work for seniors, like brain health, fall prevention, nutrition. So I kind of look at our hub as having three spokes, and one is that we will inform people, providing a forum to educate them on community issues. We've had book signings there. We had one with Jacqueline Woodson a couple of weeks ago. We will service, what kind of direct service things can we do for them? Do we want to have community health people available? And then to connect, to serve as a resource, excuse me, serve as a resource for people in the community. A lot of people don't know that during the pandemic, when the governor shut down our fitness facilities, we actually turned Midtown into a resource hub where we distributed food, we distributed clothing, we had people there who connected folks to vital resources, connected them to housing, alternate employment, making sure they had sort of the protective equipment that they needed. And our childcare was actually kept open by the state so that we could provide childcare for the children of first responders. And so in a sense, we kind of laid the groundwork several years ago during the pandemic for this to be a community hub. And it's great to see this sort of multi-generational facility, coming to life.
It sounds like, first of all, it sounds like Midtown is this sort of hidden gem that a lot of people don't know about because there's so much going on. And it sounds like YWCA is taking the lessons learned from the pandemic and really just answering the call to what's most needed, and turning this into a one-stop, which is so exciting. I wanted to ask about some of the other programming that happens out of Midtown because Midtown houses a lot. So ECE, and I know that Midtown's not our only ECE location, but can you speak to what's sort of new in that world?
Sure. We have 5 ECE locations, a downtown, Midtown. We have one in South Minneapolis, and we have 2 in St. Paul, one at Ecolab and one at the Hub Center. The one at Midtown is one of our strong beginning sites. It's one of our largest ones. There we have our anti-bias curriculum that is woven through not only the activities the kids do, but the menu to introduce them to all different tastes and textures. We also just started a social responsibility curriculum for our little ones, and we have a STEM curriculum that's woven in there. Our goal is to be able to recruit and retain more teachers so that we can have even more children and make childcare available for more families. And we also want to make sure that we provide resources for those families, that we sort of envelop the whole family because healthy children need healthy families. So we're going to be reaching out with services for families, like how to find a job, how to look for a job, how to create a resume, how to fill out an application, mock interview skills for them, and partnering with organizations like Dress for Success for clothing for interviews. We are also have some of our donors who have been our institutional funders and individual donors who have been wonderful, who are willing to do workshops for our families on financial literacy. And as we all know, money and finances are one of the ways in which domestic violence often rears its head, and then the control issues that are inherent in that. And so we also want our families to have a level of economic security. And so that's pretty critical. And we've also reached an arrangement with Western Governors University, which provides online AA, BA, and master's programs. And so we actually were able to negotiate a deal to provide that service, to provide scholarships to our employees' families, our fitness members, and our ECE parents. And then there are also scholarships available for technology, laptops, internet access too. So we're hoping that we can provide them with as many opportunities as possible.
This sounds like really such a holistic approach to not just educating children in the classroom, but also, as you said, uplifting and wrapping around those families for the good of everybody, which is so exciting. Um, I'm going to go back a little bit because you had spoken about girls and youth and how that's also housed out of Midtown. Can we have an update on that?
Sure. We actually have 7 girls and youth programs, and they're huge. So we have our Beacons program, which is a consortium with other nonprofits, and that is housed on 3 different campuses, middle school campuses. We are one of the largest providers of out-of-school time care in the Twin Cities. We also have our Contact Plus, which is a healthy decision-making course for our high school students. We have our Eureka program, which is a sort of crown jewel. It is actually a 5-year STEM cohort for young women, where they start together in middle school and it goes all the way through high school. And they have STEM internships. We have Women of the Week, where women in STEM careers come in and talk to them. They spend 2 weeks over at the College of Science and Engineering at the University of Minnesota each summer. It's an incredible program. And as a result of that program, we have become a Posse. I don't know if you're familiar with the Posse scholarships. We are a Posse partner with Macalester College, which just happens to be my alma mater. But our girls are eligible for full rides, to compete for full rides to MAC. And we've been a Posse partner 3 years. And those first 2 years, we had Posse scholars who got full rides to MAC. And the only reason why there isn't one for the 3rd year is because the process hasn't wrapped up yet. So we're hopeful. One, we have Strong Fast Fit, which I think is pretty unique. We're the only Girls Inc. affiliate in Minnesota. And that's one that's actually family-based and has cultural cohorts. So you have groups of young women in a Native cohort, a Hmong cohort, an East African cohort, Latino cohort. And so they go through the sort of normal exercises that you would find in sort of a high school program: conflict resolution, college planning, personal development, decision-making. But we also focus on fitness and fitness issues within their particular cultural communities. We give the entire family swimming lessons because we know that families and children, because of the history of racism in pools in our country, children of color do not learn how to swim. Their parents haven't learned how to swim, so they don't feel comfortable having their children near the water either. So their children don't learn. And our goal, as I'm always saying, that in this land of 10,000 lakes, we should never lose a child because they cannot afford swimming lessons. And we make the swimming lessons free to all the children, but free for our Strong Fast Fit participants and their entire family. And another fun part of that program is nutrition, learning how to cook traditional cultural foods in a healthier way. So, for example, refried beans without lard, collard greens without salt pork, just making them conscious of how we prepare our food and how it can affect us and our health. And that's a way for us to address health disparities in communities of color. And last, one that holds kind of a special place in my heart is our Girls Rap program. And that's for young women who have been involved in the criminal justice system or are at risk of becoming involved. You always know those girls that are like teetering on the brink. And so we have 4 sites where that occurs. And one of those sites is actually at the Juvenile Detention Center downtown. And our youngest participant in that program is 10 years old. So wrap your head around that. So this is our way of getting in front of it and empowering these young women to learn to make the right decisions for themselves. And even if they do make mistakes, they are mistakes that they don't have to live with the rest of their lives. So we have a lot going on, and we will be able to have more cohorts of Strong Fast Fits, more cohorts of our Eureka programs. We will be able to increase the number out of school time sites that we have, because there isn't a lot. We're fortunate in Minnesota to have one of the best park systems in the country. We're ranked in like the top 5. And our park board superintendent is wonderful, and the vision they have for the different centers. But there's also a need for school-based work where they don't have to leave campus, they don't have to worry about transportation, and that's where we step in. And so we'd like to make sure that our kids, all of our kids in middle and high school, have access to after-school programs.
You touched on racial disparities in swimming, in education, in juvenile justice. Can you give us an update on our racial justice work and public policy?
Sure. Let's take public policy first. We had an incredible legislative session. We worked very hard on legislation that affects women, children, communities of color. And we partner with a lot of organizations. We also have our own lobbyist as well. And we had a wonderful legislative session here in Minnesota where we codified Roe versus Wade. We ensured access to reproductive health. We restored voting rights to felons. We have driver's licenses for all. We have a youth advocacy council that actually goes and advocates for things at the legislature. And they were very active in legislation to provide free menstrual products in high schools. And that was passed. We got the Crown Act passed. And I know I'm forgetting some others, but it was an incredible legislative session. I was very proud to be a Minnesotan and proud of the work we did. And I think the biggest takeaway from that is this is what happens when you vote. If we choose not to stay home and we get out and vote, then we can vote for legislators that are going to support policies that will ensure the emotional and financial and social security of our children and children, youth, and their families. So that's our public policy department. Our racial justice department has 2 prongs, with 3. We have Include, which is our consulting arm, and we provide DEI counseling and training for nonprofit organizations and corporations. We also have our racial justice facilitator program, where people sign up to be trained to lead conversations within their organizations or within their corporations on issues regarding racial and social justice. And we also have our signature event, It's Time to Talk, and then It's Time to Act. We just finished up our 22nd year of It's Time to Talk, and we had 700 participants listening to Dr. Mark Lamont Hill. And we're following that up with 3 It's Time to Act sessions that are coming up. So they're pretty busy as well. And you know, we were doing all of that with 350 people. So it was a lot.
So you have described just this wide array of work that touches every age group, every aspect of life. YWCA is doing so much. For people who are listening, how can they support this work now?
Oh, there are a lot of ways. You can support us financially, whether you want to do it monthly, whether you want to do planned giving, a request for us, if you want to give gifts of stock, however you want to support us, either the organization in general, or if you'd like to support a particular program. We always need volunteers, and we have great programs. For example, we host the largest women's triathlon in the country every August, and we always need it. We have probably 1,000 people who compete, 1,000 women who compete in the triathlon. We always need volunteers. We also have our Race Against Racism, which is another program of racial justice I forgot to mention, and that happens in March. And so we need volunteers for that, or come on out and participate and help uplift our mission. And in this day and age when sort of the commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion is waning, it helps help us make a stand and show that we're not changing. We've been doing this work a long time, and we're going to continue doing it. Also, if you want to volunteer with our girls and youth programs, we always need role models in the community who are willing to come in and mentor or talk to our kids. I'm not supposed to call them kids, youth. I'm being retrained on that. Our youth, or volunteer to chaperone field trips. We can use that. But I always say that however you like to spend your time or give, we can use. If you're a writer, we have blogs. We can always use a new voice. Or if you're a marketing person, ideas about how we can best get our message out there. Or if you're a journalist, writing grant applications is an art. It really is. And sometimes, journalists can make things sing where, former lawyers like me are pretty pedestrian. If you like to do data entry, we can use that. We are now entering the modern age, and as part of these building close downs, we're scanning in all of our files and trying to, get rid of a whole bunch of paper. You want to come help us scan? Let us know. However you want to spend your time, we can use you. Believe me. We even had one board member who was an incredible volunteer. She came to us with the idea for milk carton boats. She's an artist. So I was thinking it was sort of like the old, I'm dating myself here, the soapbox derby, where they give like the Boy Scouts a chunk of wood and they have to carve a car out of it that slides down a ramp. I thought it was something like that. No, they build actual boats. They have to design a boat that the four of them can sail in the middle of a lake. They have to figure out the buoyancy. They have to figure out how many milk cartons filled with water. They have to figure out the design. And it was a fascinating project to work. She brought that project to us, and said, I'm happy to lead this project. She brought a friend of hers who's an engineer to help our Eurekans build the boats. Our silver sneakers were watching the progress as they walked every morning. And they would stop by and they would ask questions. And so they've asked if they can build their own boat next year and sail it. So whatever it is that you can offer, people from the Minnesota Opera have come in and performed for our ECE kids, introducing them to a different type of music at an early age. Someone has volunteered to do cooking classes for families, at Midtown on Saturday mornings. Whatever you like to do that you would like to share with us, contact Kaylin Brooms, who is our volunteer coordinator.
That's amazing. I think I'll put Kaylin's information in the chat. It sounds like there's as many ways to get involved as there are program areas at YWCA, which
Absolutely.
is so neat. Thank you so much, Shelley, for these wonderful and exciting updates. I'm going to open up a little time if anyone listening right now has a question. I'll leave a little space for that.
Just be gentle.
I am so glad that I had a meeting canceled this morning and had a chance to join this. This was fantastic, getting all these updates. So I'm really, really glad to be here. I didn't realize that Midtown had served as that hub during the pandemic. So that was really interesting to see that you sort of piloted like what was needed and the planning and all that in response to that crisis, which is, it's really interesting to know that was sort of the pilot that led to this idea of Midtown being the hub, which is really neat. I have a question regarding the anti-bias curriculum that your childcare is known for. Mm-hmm. Did I hear that at the hub center is where it's integrated, or is that curriculum integrated throughout each of the 5 ECE locations?
Each of the 5 ECE locations.
Oh, it is? Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. I actually have someone that I want to connect y'all to. So
okay. Yes, awesome. We license it. Right. Yes, we do.
That is great. So anyways, thanks. I really enjoyed learning what y'all have going on. This is great.
One of the things about Midtown is that it's sort of the area that was ground zero after the events following the murder of George Floyd. And that's a neighborhood that has was a couple blocks from where the old 3rd precinct was, and a lot of the unrest. And so, during that time, other buildings were burned down and things happened. And we were just this sort of stable force there. We're a safe place where people came. And I think that that's kind of a symbol of how the YWCA USA has always been, and our YWCA has been. I always tell people we didn't become woke after George Floyd. We've been doing this. We had the first integrated pool in Minneapolis. The YWCA USA integrated all of its facilities long before the Civil Rights Act was even signed. We reached out and provided refuge to folks who were at risk during the Japanese internment. I mean, this is who we are. This is what we do. And so, in a sense, this community hub is a continuation of that. We're planting a flag right there in this neighborhood that needs us the most. And just once again, pivoting where we're needed.
I really admire you for doing what you've done to respond to community needs. I think it struck me as you were talking about the work in terms of giving people access to pools and how that really is a racial justice program. And it struck me that you all help keep families from drowning, both literally and figuratively, and that this hub is that work. So I'm excited for you all. I'm really excited for what the future holds. And thank you for your leadership, Shelley, because you have done a really tough thing for the better of your community, for the needs of your community. And those things are hard to do. And you've just done it with incredible vision and great communication. So thank you for your leadership.
So much. It's tough. The Uptown facility's been there for a long time. And it was more than just a fitness facility. It was a real community where people gathered every single day. A group of guys who swim at 6 a.m. every morning. They call themselves the old guys. The seniors who gathered at 10 for their water aerobics, and hung out and had coffee. If someone said to me, this place has been a part of my life for 28 years. And it's hard. It's hard, but we're hoping that we can maintain that sense of community at Midtown. I know the folks there have invited them, whatever your favorite class is, the people in that class at Midtown have invited them to come over and are more than willing to embrace them. And I hope they will take advantage of that and remain a community. And selling our downtown building is hard. I was on the capital campaign committee that helped renovate that building, and my nieces and nephews went to ECE here. And so it's tough. It's a real part of our history. But hopefully making this decision will enable us to have even a more robust legacy in this community.
When I was doing my undergrad at the University of Minnesota, we used to rollerblade all throughout Nicollet Mall. And so it's so funny. That was my first introduction to that building was many moons ago on rollerblades.
Yeah, it's pretty distinctive. And it is in a great location.
I actually saw a great letter to the editor regarding the building, somebody really celebrating the design of the building in response to another person having indicated it wasn't their favorite. And I connected with her celebration of the building. So I hope it finds a glorious future.
And we're hoping. We've been pretty gratified at the offers, not the offers, but the interest that we've received, and we're doing tons and tons of tours. And it's interesting is, people keep their cards pretty close to the vest, but as they come through, they make comments about, oh, you could do this with this building. You could do this with this building. This would be perfect for blank, and things you never would have thought of. So it's really gratifying to have that much interest and that people see so much in the character of the building. So we're waiting to see what happens.
Thank you so much, Jennifer, for your questions and your comments. And thank you again, Shelley, for all the great news about everything that's going on. And thank you everyone who is watching this edition of Coffee and Conversation. And we'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone.
Have a good day.